Hello, today I want to talk a bit more about Trump. I've spoken about him in previous videos, but there's always plenty more to say. And I want to do this because I think I'm not sure the world really realises just how dangerous it is to have such a clown in the White House. We know that Trump is deeply flawed. We know that he's incompetent, and we know he's a narcissist. That he's completely self-obsessed, that every decision he ever makes seems to be based on how it will affect him and his reputation and his fame. We know, above all, he's dishonest, he's a compulsive liar. And now we know, of course, that he's corrupt. It was reckoned by the New Yorker magazine only in the last couple of days that they did a calculation. They reckon he has enriched himself and his family to the tune of $3.2 billion in the first 7 months of his presidency. Makes you wonder how much more money he will take if he lasts till the end, which I don't think he will. I've said all along, I don't think he'll make the full 4 years, because I think either he's going to do something reckless, or I think the signs we're seeing of beginnings of dementia might well advance, and he may have to step down, but we'll see. But being a narcissist and requiring praise all the time is something that foreign leaders have learnt, and we've seen people like Mark Rutte went to the White House and was really extremely fawning and demeaned himself in front of Trump just because he wanted to get him on side. We saw Starmer in the White House with his little letter from King Charles offering an unprecedented second visit simply because we wanted to get a favour. We wanted to get lower tariffs from him, and we saw last week it was Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, was in the Oval Office, and he was presenting Trump with some bauble or other, but it was apparently very valuable, and it was a long speech by Cook about how wonderful Trump was and so on. And this is all because Trump had threatened to impose tariffs on iPhones coming from India, I think. He wants Apple to bring manufacturing back to America, which will be extremely expensive, would result in the price of an iPhone going up 2 or 3 times, and would take years and years and years, but he wants it doing right away. But when the world is in such crisis, when you look at Russia and Ukraine, and you look at what's happening in Israel and Gaza, and you look at the cost of living crisis all over the world, you would have thought the President of America, the most powerful man in the world, would really be on top of these things and really involved. When it comes to Ukraine, he's obviously completely under the thumb of Putin. Is not going to do anything to offend him. Netanyahu, I think he quite admires because he's a tough leader, and it doesn't look as though he's going to intervene there. And as far as the economy is concerned, he thinks he'll sort everything out by just splashing all these crazy tariffs everywhere. And when you look at what he's actually doing and what he's concentrating on, you look at what he's doing to the Oval Office, fantastic symbol of America, the Oval Office, and yet he's making it look like a 3-star Karachi hotel, covered in all that gold rubbish. And you look at what he's done with the Rose Garden, which Jackie Kennedy first planted all those years ago, all ripped up, and it's been concreted over, and it's now got sort of beach umbrellas and chairs all over it, and you think, is this really important? And then, of course, there's the new ballroom he wants to build, 90,000 square feet. The entire area of the White House is 55,000. So he's going to build a 90,000 square foot ballroom next to it. It'd be like putting a huge Tesco's right next to 10 Downing Street. I mean, it's just beyond belief. But whilst he's enriching himself, he's giving tax cuts to all his friends. He's surrounding himself with all these morons and these pretty unpleasant people. You look at the likes of Stephen Miller, who is often compared with Goebbels, and I think he's probably less charming. And you look at his secretaries of state. Look at Besant and Lutnick. I mean, it's embarrassing how they demean themselves in front of him, constantly telling him what a wonderful president he is and what wonderful choices and decisions he's making. You look at Witkoff, the guy who's been flying around the world doing international peace deals, as I said last week, like Henry Kissinger. He's in Russia, and then he's in Israel, and who knows where. And what's his qualification? Trump's golfing buddy. He's a real estate developer. You look at Pete Hegseth. He's formerly a radio presenter, well known as being an alcoholic. You look at the Secretary of State for Education, Linda McMahon, the woman who thought that AI was A1. And there's Kennedy. Kennedy doesn't believe in injections, vaccinations. And that bimbo Kirsty Noem. She's the Homeland Security Secretary of Homeland Security. She last week, and this is worth mentioning, you might have seen it, but you remember Trump talking about injecting disinfectant into the veins to try and stop COVID. Well, he came up with one which is almost as bad last week. He suggested that it would be a good idea to paint the wall between the US and Mexico, to paint it black, because black absorbs the heat and it would get very hot, and therefore when people try to climb it, it wouldn't be able to do so. And so the decision was made to paint this wall black. This is about sort of hundreds and hundreds of miles. And it's going to cost, I think, something like $500 million. That's what it's expected to cost. And so this bimbo, Kirsty Noem, she went down there and wearing her baseball cap and so on, and she was surrounded by painters, and they were all... she gave a little speech, and then they all started painting, her included. They all started painting the wall with little brushes. And nobody really noticed the fact they were painting the American side, which is unnecessary, and it's not where Mexicans are going to be trying to climb. So they have to paint the other side anyway. But nobody else pointed out, or it didn't seem to occur to all the brilliant people who surround Trump, that almost all of the attempts to get over the wall are made at night. And secondly, that the paint, black paint in the constant sunlight, is likely to fade very quickly and will constantly need repainting. And you think, this guy's the most powerful man in the world, and that was his idea. Go and paint the wall black. And so in just 7 months, as I say, he's amassed $3.2 billion for his family. He's alienated a large part of the world with these tariffs, as it threatens to really disrupt world trade. He's ensured that the image of US businesses has been badly damaged. He's almost certainly going to be responsible for inflation, because once the tariffs start really hitting, and they're just beginning to now, prices are bound to go up because importers can't pass them on. We've still got Besant going around telling everybody that it's the foreign suppliers who are going to pay the tariffs. He's destroyed Medicare, USAID, and cut all sorts of government spending, which will have an adverse effect on all sorts of people. People are not going to be able to afford medicines. They're going to die as a result of it. People are going to lose their houses and their businesses because of the inflation caused by the tariffs. And then we've got these ICE thugs running rampage all over America, arresting brown people at will and disappearing them. And then you see him kowtowing to Putin. But the point I really want to make in this video is this, that the world is approaching a point where everything's going to change. Artificial intelligence is going to affect everybody in a profound way. I think back to when we first became aware of the internet, and people started forecasting about what a big difference that was going to make to us all and so on. I mean, you can barely remember now what it was like before we had the internet. But when you see the way that the whole of life is really being transformed by it, how we do so much online, how children are growing up now that spend their entire lives online, and how banking and businesses and so much is done on the internet now, it completely transformed everything. And so to those people who were saying before that it wouldn't make any difference, we'd have it all under control and so on, it's obviously not not the case. And likewise with artificial intelligence, you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, well, I don't think it. I think we'll always have it in control." Or people will say, "Well, it needs a lot of electricity. Where are we going to get electricity from? So it probably won't happen." Or it'll need a lot of water and all sorts of reasons why it isn't going to happen. If it does happen, it won't really be as bad as we think it's going to be. AI is going to completely transform almost every aspect of life on this planet. And the nation that leads is going to control the world. And ordinarily we would have said that had to be America. America, the home of the great giants that we all know about. But China is advancing very quickly, and it's quite possible they've even overtaken America already. But whereas America under the likes of Trump is in chaos, where there's so much uncertainty, there's so much concern about whether or not to invest and about what's going to happen. On the other hand, you've got China, which is extremely disciplined and organised. Admittedly, it's an authoritarian state, but they're putting so much into it, and they're producing so many hundreds and hundreds of thousands of graduates, computer experts, and so on, and they're spending so much on it, and it's so much a part of their future that it seems to me, I think, with the mess that Trump is making of America and the way that he's just trashed the reputation of America, and with the way that China and the way that they have done over the last 40 years, just steadily got on with it. What we're going to wake up and find in a very short time, we're not talking about 50 years' time, we're talking about 2 or 3 years' time, we're going to find that China's ruling the world. And if they've got a benign leader, then we'll survive. But if they haven't, who knows? I can't imagine a world that's ruled by China. But it seems to me it's almost certain, and Trump will be very largely responsible for it. And so all those idiots who think that he's making America great again, and that somehow everything's going to go back as it was before, I think they're going to be very disappointed. Anyway, that's what I think about it, and I'd be very interested to know what you think about it. If you've watched this far, thank you very much indeed. If you haven't already subscribed, I'd be grateful if you do so. And so until next week, thanks for watching, and bye for now.